guys, I'm Dr. Jenny White, a dentist in Sarasota, Florida, and her fearless patient, Susan, with our new and exciting podcast, Open Wide, Be Careful What You Tell Your Dentist. Over the past 25 or so years, I've been sitting in a little room talking to myself all day, and I've gained a lot of wisdom through that process, which I want to share with you. We are two women in our mid-whatevers who want to have fun and talk about our daily lives in a Seinfeld kind of way, although we admit we are far from Jerry Seinfeld in the humor department. We hope our podcast casts optimism and fearlessness to you, so you can remember that you can rise to the top, stay at the top, and dream bigger than you've ever imagined. So on today's podcast, the soup du jour is fear. Okay, I think fear is a learned skill. When we jump out of the womb, we have absolutely zero fear. Heck, we just came out of the ultimate water slide, and we're pretty fearless. Susan, what do you think about fear being a learned skill?
Yeah, you know, I did some research on this, and it turns out people are born with two types of fear, and the rest of them are learned fears. Okay, so fear of falling. I guess fear of falling out of the birth canal and onto the floor is one. And the other is fear of loud sounds. Isn't that interesting?
Very.
I guess you're born with them. I don't know how they know that you're born with them. And everything else is learned.
Huh. So, well, and then I also think as we go along, our parents teach us some fears. You know, like don't touch the hot stove. You know, don't get your tongue stuck to that frozen pipe, Jenny. And then the world also teaches us fears. You know, you see on TV, public tragedies, shootings, pandemics, all of that. So, and then, you know, for me, being a dentist, so many of my patients have a terrible fear of the dentist due to traumatic childhood dental experiences, telling the dentist it hurts and the dentist didn't stop. The parents weren't allowed to be back there with them in the room. The anesthetic didn't work, or they didn't even use anesthetic. So everybody has, I think, fears, whether they're learned or not. And I acknowledge that fear is real, very real. But I don't want to just sit and say, I'm going to be fearful for the rest of my life. Because as you know, in other podcasts, I'm a grower. Right. I'm a learner and a grower. So what if we can crack open a little door in our mind? Like those, I don't know if you grew up with gnomes. Are you familiar with gnomes?
I'm familiar with them, but we didn't grow up with them.
Well, okay, just pretend a little gnome door opening in your brain. And you say to yourself, I think I may have jacked up and hyped my fear into this castle-like structure when it's actually more of a tiny house. And because I'm an excellent jacker-upper when I'm feared, when I'm scared out of my mind. And FYI, just a random fact, did you know that the average human brain weighs 3 pounds? So we are dealing with a 3-pound thing that is absolutely paralyzing us with our fear. All right. So I want to believe that we can turn this thing around. Do you think, Susan, that it's possible to turn fear around, or are we just stuck with it?
No. I think you can absolutely manage fear, and I think that the positive side of fear is that it compels you to take action, and when you take action, then you can push beyond the fear and get to another place. So, for example, I used to have a fear of public speaking. Now I can't shut up.
Well said.
So I have pushed beyond that fear. I was made to, because I had this corporate background. I was supposed to give like presentations and stuff like that. So I was made to push beyond that fear. And had I not, I would have still been in this like, oh, I can't do it. So when you face it and push beyond it because you've taken some action, you're actually better on the other side. So I think absolutely fear is both good and bad.
And you know what's interesting about that? I used to be an extremely shy child. I would hide behind my mother's leg. I was scared to death. I didn't want to go to nursery school or preschool. I don't know what the difference is between those two things, but I didn't want to go. I was scared.
Yeah.
And now, and my mom had to bribe me with a Barbie doll every day. Now, like you can't get me to shut up.
Yeah.
I just.
What do you think the breakout moment was for you? Like when did you realize, oh, I'm not timid anymore. I'm not shy.
You know, I think just growing up and when you don't have the protection of your parents And you have to function. Like when you go to college, you have to function on your own. You have to turn into that adult. You have to do things that you don't really want to do or that
Yeah.
you may be afraid of.
Right.
You just have to. I think it's a natural evolution. But for me, I can't mentally jump from I'm afraid of XYZ. Let me just go ahead and change that and be done with that and move on with my life. I have to take little baby steps. And believe me, I've had to learn these little baby steps. And I'm continually learning little baby steps to help me with anything I'm afraid of. So, moving the body, for me, I have to do something. And I thought initially that meant like do an aerobics class or go for a run or lift weight. It can be as simple as breathing techniques, like getting my insides shifted up when I'm crazy with fear. So sometimes I am afraid of airplane turbulence. I I've never been afraid of airplane turbulence, but for whatever reason, I'm now afraid of airplane turbulence.
It's just happened recently
I'd say in the past 5
because of
years.
an incident. You were on a plane and you had really bad
I don't
turbulence.
know. I don't know if anything. You know what I think really happened was when you get to a point in your life where you've accumulated some assets, you've been through some death or deaths of people that you love, that are close. You kind of realize, okay, life is finite. This is what I have. This is what I'm working with. And do I want it to all end on Delta Flight 801 from Sarasota to Atlanta?
That's
Not really.
interesting that
You know,
you
you
think
know what I
about that
mean?
on a flight.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it only hits me when I'm in the turbulence. So and we'll get to this because I'm going to talk about turbulence. But when I feel it, I got to start breathing.
Mm.
And some people may think, God, she's crazy over there. But I just start inhaling and exhaling through my nose. Like inhale to a count of 5, exhale to a count of 5. You know, inhale, hold it for 5, exhale for 5, something. I don't care if you inhale for 3, 1, 2, whatever you're comfortable doing, just do it because it takes my mind off of the fear.
Mm.
I'm thinking, oh, it's hard to get air in my right nostril because of my sinuses, or, I feel like there's air going down the back of my. Anything to change your brain will help you, I think, get over your fear.
Mm.
So for me, that's step one. Do you do anything when you're afraid? Anything in particular that you can think of, or do you just run and hide and pull the blanket over your head and
Well,
say,
no, I try to walk like right straight through it. Actually, I mean, I try to harness it and make it sort of work for me. And I think there's different kinds of fears too. Like, so for example, yesterday I had a fear because I was in getting some face work done, some face work. So this morning I have a fear called isotophobia, which is fear of mirrors.
You look great, by the way. A
Well,
little sun kissed,
a
but
little
you look
sun-kissed.
great.
But we should talk about this procedure at a different. Well, wait to see how it works out.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
do it. If you turn
Right.
out great, we'll do a podcast
Yeah, if I turn
on
out
it.
great. If not, like we won't go to video. Let's put it that way. Today I have a face for radio. Let's put it that way. So I don't know. To answer your question, I just really feel like I
Push through.
try to push through. Yeah. I want to get back to something you said a minute ago, though, which is in your dental practice where you see patients who are afraid of the dentist. And I think that is a common fear that a lot of people have. But in your practice, you make it so much fun to go. Like I literally look forward to going to the dentist now because of you. I'm not kidding. I'm not pandering here. I really feel like this is going to be a fun experience because you, whether you do it overtly or innately, just lift people up so that they don't feel scared. I don't know if you consciously do that or not, but it's a wonderful experience. And I think a lot of people who may have been fearful now don't feel that when they go to the dentist with you.
Thank you for saying that. I think where it stems from is I've spent my whole life trying to grow as a person. So whether that's spirituality, religion, exercise, all the arenas, to grow as a human being. And on the side, I'm a dentist. So how do I incorporate being a dentist and all the little technical gadgetry, wizardry that we do, along with my personal growth as a human being?
Mm.
For me, it's anything I can do to help my patients. And I've decided that this last chunk of my life, I want to help people. And dentistry is so much more than let me get your tooth back into a state of health.
Well, yeah, but not all dentists think that way. So good for you for breaking the mold and starting to think about it in a different way from the patient's perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was
Yeah.
important.
Maybe that'll open some dentists' minds to
Oh, yeah, that'd be
uh,
great.
approaching it from a different
But do
angle.
you learn any of that in dental school? Like, do they say, is there a patient care component to your studies? Do they say, let's like put patients at ease? Like, here's a couple of techniques you can use. Is there any of that, or is it all technical and clinician like?
So back when I was in dental school, we were still using stone tablets and
Yes.
chisels to write. So there was not a class on emotion,
Yeah.
patience. It was all technical.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
there's a lot of information. And like, I don't want to say that that's not a good thing. There's a lot of technical information you've got to get good at in 4 years. So there really wasn't time to incorporate that. The other thing is, I feel that you either have it or you don't have it when it comes to, I feel there are a lot of things you can learn, but to genuinely have empathy for every single human being that walks into your door, I don't know, maybe you can learn to be that way. But for me, thank goodness, it's not another thing I have to do or have to think about. For me, it's just a natural way of being.
Yeah. Good. Well, it works.
That's number one for me. So after I move my body, let me get back into my little techniques that I do to kind of morph my fear.
Mhm.
And morph is such a funny word. I don't even know really what that means. Morph.
I
To-
don't know either, but yesterday I had this thing
change?
called Morpheus. That was what was happening in this.
Your
So,
face
yeah.
situation.
Yeah, I don't know what like so.
We're
What is
morphing.
what is the Latin word? We'll have to figure that
We'll
out.
have to
Yeah.
look that up. So then I go on to believing that I am capable of choosing, and this phrase is from Pema Chodron. She is my favorite Buddhist monk. Everyone should have a favorite Buddhist monk. She says, you have the power to choose a fresh alternative.
Mm.
So rather than going with your fear and whatever it is you do when you get scared, shutting down, turning your phone off, shutting the curtains, getting in bed, pulling the covers over, overeating, over drinking, whatever it is, you have the choice to do something different. It can be so minor, like maybe you don't eat the whole bag of cookies. Maybe you just go into your bed and pull the covers over for 5 minutes instead of a day and a half. Choose something different. So move your body and then realize that you don't want to be paralyzed by this fear and you want to stop continually letting this thing run me, which is what I choose to do. So I'm over a half a century old at this point, and I will not let my little brain neurons or whatever they're called in the brain shut me down, and whatever they are called. I wish I had a little bit more of them. We should do a podcast on forgetfulness, Susan. So you know what? There's a lot of things that I'm talking about right now about fear, and I don't want this to sound like, okay, you have to do this, and then you have to do that, and you have to do that. I think we should take a cocktail break right now. What do you think?
Okay, I have the perfect cocktail.
Oh, great.
Okay, so today's drink is not for people who have coprophobia, COPRO phobia. I'll let you look that up yourselves. Because this drink is called the Poo Driver. All right, cheers, Dr. White. Here we go.
Oh, Susan, here's to some poo driving.
Whoops. Mm. Oh, my. That's mighty refreshing in an oddball kind of way. So let me tell you what's in it. 2.5 ounces of prune juice, 1.5 ounce of lemon juice, 1 ounce of vodka, and 1 teaspoon of Ferno Blanca, which is an Italian digestive. You can get it at any liquor store. And I often have it at night before, like after a big meal or something as a digestive, but that's what's in this drink. So
That's very
it's
interesting.
called the Poo Driver.
I had no idea that you could have an alcoholic beverage that would help with your irregularity if you're irregular.
Apparently. Well,
That,
I guess
this
we're
is
gonna find
fascinating. This is
out. We may have to say,
fascinating.
excuse us for a
So
minute.
right,
We'll
right,
be
right.
back.
Right. I hope I don't need to run to the restroom, but
Right.
I'll do my best. Thank you. And you know what I have to say? It's unlike anything I've tasted, but it's very pleasant.
Yes, it has a kind of a, well, the Ferno Blanca gives it a kind of a herbal, tangy kind of feel. And then the prune juice gives it a sweet kind of feel, and the vodka gives it a kick. So it's a nice combination. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. Thank you. Thank you for the poo driver.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
Okay.
I want to get back to our fear subject. And, you know, when I'm afraid, I act like a crazed hyena that's been asked to organize the card catalog or something. And I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. So honestly, the last thing I try to do, I move my body. I try and remind myself that I can do this differently, choose a fresh alternative. But then I do something that's really simple. I just breathe and I feel. And I like to use my fingers to feel. So I just do a slow inhale and a slow exhale. And I say to myself, feel the breath, Jenny. Feel the breath. Touch the pencil. If I'm washing my hands, I say, feel the water on your hand. Feel your knuckle. Like, feel the keyboard. Just feel. What it does is it gets me out of my head and right here, wherever here is. And it helps me immensely. So, and it's so simple. You don't need anything. Remember, this is your 3-pound and sometimes dead weight brain trying to take a hold of you and run your life. And
Yeah.
I don't want to live like that. So these are some little ideas that I do to help snap me out of it. But you may be wondering, I'm sure everybody's wondering, what are some of Dr. Jenny and Susan's fears?
Mm-hmm.
I've already mentioned airplane turbulence. And let me just say, when it comes to airplane turbulence, if I'm sitting when I have that paper bag out of the little seat pocket in my hand, and I'm sitting next to somebody else who's afraid, it does not help me.
No, it doesn't.
Hashtag not help, right? Because that person looks at me and their eyes are popping out of their skull. So anyway, I am afraid of airplane turbulence. And what I'd like to do here is just kind of ping pong back and forth. And let's talk about what we're afraid of. Let's lay it on the table.
Okay. I guess you want me to start. Well, I think my biggest fear that I've had sort of all my life, which also acts as a, a real driver for me too, is fear of failure. And I think that comes from actually a birth order point of view. I think the oldest in the family has sort of a lot of responsibility on their shoulders to be good, do good, get good grades, you know, those kinds of things. And so for me, that's always been, I haven't wanted to disappoint my parents, or I haven't wanted to disappoint bosses. I feel like I, you know, have always been able to use it as a driver to sort of get ahead and get good grades or whatever I needed to do. But it can be debilitating too, because you're constantly worried about, am I going to be okay in this situation? So that's, I guess, if I had to name my number one fear, it would be fear of failure, and I've had it all my life. So I think it's actually bubbles up from, you know, from childhood and maybe birth order.
And is it fear of everything? Is it fear of failing at work, relationship, you know, all the big categories, like just anything and everything?
You know, certainly academically, certainly work wise, less relationship wise. And I don't know, fear feels like a stronger term than it really should be. It's just for me like, oh, I've got to achieve at a higher level. And I'm feeling inadequate if I don't.
And that's probably something that we have in common, Susan, and why we resonate so well together, because I too was raised to be a perfectionist, and I was daddy's little girl and perfect and good grades and all of that, and had to get it done. There was no not getting it done, whatever it was. So yeah, I can resonate, but I don't think I have a fear of it. To me, it's more exhausting than anything.
Yeah.
But let me throw out just a totally random fear that I bet no one would ever guess that I have. And that is, I honestly have a fear, and I don't know where this comes from, that someone is going to eat my food.
Oh my.
I
Interesting.
I eat insanely fast. And let me tell you, if I'm at a party and there's a shrimp cocktail, I will take 3 shrimp right from the get-go because I'm thinking to myself, that's going to be gone. There isn't going to be any for me.
So, can you trace where maybe that came from? Did it come from food shortages when you were growing up, or
Honest to God, no. And
okay,
the other thing is, my better half Tom, BHT, my better half Tom, he could care less about food.
Hmm,
He forgets to eat.
interesting. Yeah.
So you have someone who forgets to eat, who could care less, along with a crazed hyena who's going mad for the shrimp cocktail. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, dinner at your house must be fun. Don't invite me. Yeah, that's interesting about the fear of food or fear of food shortage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fear of food shortage.
Yeah.
And yet I never had that in my life.
Wow. Well, some other fears that people have, like there is pogonophobia, which is fear of beards. Did you know people have fear of beards? I didn't
What?
know that.
No.
Like hair.
Let's dissect that, because are you afraid of the hair doing something to you?
Oh, I don't have it. I'm just just telling you about some fears that are out there. Okay, here's another one. Ketophobia, which is fear of hair, which is different than fear of beards. Interesting, right? And then there's vestiphobia. Can you guess what that one is? Vestiphobia?
Fear of Vespa scooters?
No, fear of clothing.
I definitely do not have that fear.
Okay, and here's one you also don't have is ergophobia. Ergophobia, ergophobia, fear of work, because
No.
I know you
Yeah,
are
no.
dedicated
Yeah,
to your work.
I don't have that.
Nor do you have decidophobia, which is fear of making decisions.
No,
You make
I have to make
I make
decisions.
immediate decisions. I can tell right away whether I like something or not. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm fine with it once I make the decision. I'm good to go. I don't question it.
So here's something you actually may have. Di Dipnophobia. Dipnophobia. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing these things right. Fear of dining with others. Stay away from my shrimp. I'm not dining with you.
Actually, no. And when I'm in a public place, I'm not eating like a ravenous person. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not gorging the appetizer, but it is something that happens, especially when I'm at home or even at work. I eat insanely fast. I never understood a lunch hour.
Okay. Well, that might be work related that you want to get back to work. Like
Possibly.
this isn't as important as getting back to the root canal, for example. Maybe that's what it is. You want to nourish yourself, but you want to get right back to work. It's not an event for you. Eating might not be an event for you.
That's right.
Okay.
It's really not.
Yeah.
No, it's not. The other thing that I'm afraid of is undertaking major projects that I know nothing about and trusting the people that I don't know to lead me in that major project.
Well, what would be an example of that? Like, why would you take on a major project with somebody you don't know? Like what?
Home renovation.
Oh, home renovations.
Like a
I see what you're
big
saying.
home reno
Mm.
or building a new home. And I now have people that I love and trust. Um, but before I knew these people to help me with that, I was very afraid. I was afraid that I would get taken advantage of. I was afraid that the materials were going to be not top notch and something, would result from it. And it would just make more work for me ultimately. So that was something I'm afraid of.
Mm.
And another real fear for me, and it might touch with you, is I have a fear not of me passing, but of people around me passing, because when I lost my mother and my father, it taught me, and they were 1 month apart. It taught me I'm not in control. Our medical system doesn't have an answer for everything. And you just have to watch it happen, basically.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not my death that I'm afraid of, but people around me that I dearly love.
You know, we should do a podcast on this someday. I just think Americans in general, and probably people all over the world, but some societies seem to grasp this a little bit better, don't process death well. They don't understand it. They don't, know what to do with it. We tend to think we're going to live forever. And I just feel like people in general need to get a grip on what's happening to all of us, and especially the people around us. And I've had some real life recent examples of that. And because I've had those real life recent examples, I'm not at all afraid of death.
That's great.
Yeah, it's actually a magnificent experience to witness. And so we should do another. That's a day.
We definitely need to do a podcast on that.
Yeah.
I would say, in summary here, we are not our fears. I don't think we are. We're more than our fears. You can sit and choose to be with them the rest of your life. There's no right or wrong answer. But for me, I want to, when I'm on the plane and I feel my fear coming on when the plane starts bouncing, I want to say, hello, airplane turbulence in my head, of course. Welcome to Jenny's house. I'm running the show. I know you want to live here. While you're welcome, I run the show, and you're really not needed here. And I move and I breathe, and I've made the decision that I demand a fresh alternative because I'm sick and tired of thinking the old way. I want a new way. I want to not get rid of the fear, but I just want a new way of living my life. So in a nutshell, and I would consider a nutshell to be a very small storage container, again, this fear thing is not the mental mountain that we all make it out to be. We get to choose what we think, or what we repeatedly think. And if we don't like it, pull up those bootstraps, Susan, saddle that horse, and get the hell out of Fear Dodge. So on that note, I think we should go to our tip of the podcast.
Okay, and it turns out the tip of the podcast includes nuts. I'm not kidding. So you take a walnut. Okay.
Okay.
And if you have a scratch in wood, you rub the walnut on the scratch, and the scratch will go away.
In wood.
In wood, yeah. Doesn't actually doesn't work on formica.
I was going to say, so it's not working on our formica table.
As it turns out, but no, wood. I've done this before and it actually works. So yeah, take a walnut and rub it on the I was going to say dent, the scratch.
Yeah.
And the oils from the walnut will help take the scratch out. There's your tip for the day.
That's interesting. And then if you have a dog, the dog will smell the walnut and lick the walnut and lick the wood, and it'll all be good.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
That's
great.
the tip for the day.
This is wonderful. All right, guys. That's a wrap. Well, I want to thank you for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you did, please share the show with friends and family and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This way, you'll never miss weekly drops. Stay strong, dream big, and floss your teeth.